Hello, you're very welcome along to the Champions League podcast from Matchbook. I'm your host, Daniel Hussey, and joined as the usual crew now, and we're back in action. Firstly, I'll welcome Adrian Clarke. Adrian, welcome back.
Yeah, thank you very much. Great to be back. Refreshed, recharged. Hopefully, pick some winners today.
Yeah, sounds good to me. Miguel, Delaney, how are you?
Not too bad, too bad.
And then Mark O'Hare, as always. Mark, how are you getting on?
Yeah, good. I wish I had a little mid-season break like Adrian did, just to recharge the batteries. But yeah, I'm all right.
Yeah, and Mark, would you get any sort of break before the World Cup? There's no space, is there?
No chance.
No, I've tried to sort of put in March's international break as the next window of opportunity, really. But yeah, so it feels like a long, long way off at the minute.
Yeah,
we'll get through it.
We will indeed, and keep an eye on Matchbook's social channels over the next few weeks in terms of our World Cup content. We're going to get straight into Matchday 5. If you haven't listened to the podcast before, what we're going to do is cover 4 marquee games. Then we're going to take on any other bets and best bets. Some decent ties here set up nicely. The 4 games that we're going to cover today are, firstly, we're going to cover Barcelona versus Bayern, Ajax at home to Liverpool, Tottenham Hotspur versus Sporting, and Atletico versus Leverkusen. And if you are watching us on YouTube, do give us a thumbs up and comment your best bet as well. That'd be much appreciated. We'll get straight into it and start with Barcelona at home to Bayern and take a look at the betting first, as we have it at matchbook.com. You can back Barcelona at 2.36, Bayern or 2.96. The draw is available at 4.1. Both teams to score yes is as short as 1.46. That left off the page this morning when I had a look. No is 3.0 or 2-1. The handicap, Bayern are getting a half a goal start at 1.9, and the total is 3.5 goals and a little bit shaded towards the under at 1.81. So we'll start with you, Adrian, because you're refreshed and ready to go here. In terms of a bet, I found this tough one to call myself looking at this morning. Where are you kind of leaning at the moment?
It's really tough. Yeah, I don't think there's a standout pick here because it's a strange. The match is being played out in sort of a strange circumstance in regards to the group as well, isn't it? Because Bayern Munich are going to top the group. I think they just need a point, and Barcelona are effectively out, aren't they? I mean, Inter Milan are going to beat Pilsen surely, and then they they're behind Inter on the head-to-head, so they're staring at the sort of Europa League abyss here. So I don't know how they'll approach the game, really. I mean, they played very well at the weekend. 4-0 winners against Athletic Bilbao. Dembele superb. I mean, he's been in great form, hasn't he? I think he's been outstanding in recent weeks. He scored a goal. I think he made three assists in that one as well. So Barcelona, even though they recently lost the Clásico, are not in bad shape. They're a hard team to read, aren't they? Because in La Liga, yet to concede a goal at home. So pretty solid, controlling matches, playing on the front foot, and ticking off the wins, really. Yeah, against Inter Milan, it was all a little bit chaotic, and they end up drawing 3-3, which was a little bit of a disaster for them. It was a pretty even game, wasn't it, out in Bayern Munich? So they'll take confidence from that. They're at home, so I can understand people wanting to get behind Barcelona, but this is Bayern Munich, and I think Bayern Munich are just ahead of them in terms of quality. And yeah, I think Bayern Munich on a small handicap, a quarter goal, looked quite attractive to me. But because Barcelona played so well at the weekend, and maybe there's a little bit more riding on it pride-wise for them in this game at home, I'd maybe steer clear of that. What I've landed on, because it's a strange game, because Barcelona will be embarrassed by the fact that they conceded 3 to Inter Milan, and I think they'll have a lot of respect for Bayern Munich, is unders, actually. I think because the line's so high here, for obvious reasons, because they're two attack-minded sides, I think the line is maybe a little bit too high, in my opinion. So I've landed on under 3.5 goals at 1.8. So obviously you need 4 goals in the game to lose your money. And obviously it was only 2-0 in the previous game. And yeah, I just think Barcelona will have a bit of respect. They won't want to get destroyed by Bayern Munich. And I don't think Bayern Munich will go at it hammer and tong, because I think that they'll look to try and coast through this game unscathed, with a draw or a win, and they move on to the next stage as group winners. So that's where I've landed, but it is a very, very difficult match to predict.
Yeah, and the goal line is very high. Mark, just picking up on some Adrian points on the goal line, where are you currently at that? Is it set a little bit too high here based on the two teams, or?
I don't think so. I think it's absolutely fair enough where it is, to be honest. Adrian mentioned the attacking talent on both teams. Scary, really. So,
Yeah.
Adrian's talking about the under 3.5 goals, which is, gives you a bit more leverage. But I'm sure not many people will be looking at the under 2.5 goals and thinking
No.
that's probably the play here. It's not going to be a nice watch, really. Barcelona, puzzling team so far this season. Probably exactly what we've been expecting, really, considering it's only 3-4 months into the new evolution of Barcelona, because at times they've been wonderful to watch. At times they've lacked consistency, and at times they've looked very fragile defensively, despite what the numbers say. And 9 clean sheets from 11 in La Liga does not tell you the full story. Ter Stegen's been one of their best players, really, at times. And if you look at post-shot XG versus goals against, basically says Barca should have conceded 3 or 4 more goals than they already have, and that's down to him between the sticks, because the defence is very average, in my opinion. Sergio Roberto is now injured. The fullback options don't really inspire me. Sergi Busquets isn't the player he once was. Doesn't add a great deal of protection to a backline, which is basically Jules Koundé and one other, because Piqué has regressed significantly, whether that's down to his age or off-field issues. And Eric Garcia just is not at the standard required to be involved in a Champions League competing team. And Christensen's injured as well. So that would be a big concern for me, Barcelona, as would the way in which the game played out against Inter. I think it's worth mentioning, already as well, that if Inter are 3 goals up at half-time against Pilsen, does that feed across to the Camp Nou here? Does that sort of put Barcelona off? From a Bayern perspective, I know they've won the group and there's not a huge amount to play for, really, but I think from their opinion, there's an opportunity here to knock out Barcelona, a potential challenger, you could say, later in the tournament, which I think is motivation enough. And they've got a fantastic recent record against Barcelona as well. So even if there's no Sane, there's no Neuer, I think they'll be quite happy to sort of settle in and try and put on a performance here. And I think going back to that Inter game, the circumstances of Barcelona are very similar. It's must win. Against Inter, I thought they started really well. They won the shot count 25-11, but the more the game went on, the more ragged they got, the more desperate they got, and Inter just exposed them. Of those 11 shots, 9 were inside the box. They fashioned 5 big chances, which are opportunities which Opta describe as a realistic chance to score, and generated well over 2 expected goals, the bulk of which was from open play and in the second half as well. I can see something similar happening here, actually, with the game sort of running away from Barcelona. Bayern are ruthless enough to sort of relish those open spaces and put them to the sword, even in the second half, or if they get an early goal as well. So, I was looking at being pro Bayern Munich here, because the prices are artificially short on Barcelona because of what's at stake in the group. So, Adrian mentioned it, but Bayern Munich plus a quarter, 1.92. Thank you very much. I'll have that, because I'll make money if Bayern avoid defeat. And I think Bayern to score over 1.5 goals at even money is also an appealing play here. If you do like the overs, if you do think it's going to be a high-scoring game, I can absolutely see Bayern Munich getting a couple of goals here, even just scoring twice in the second half as Barca become desperate. So, it is a tricky game on paper, but I think maybe it's a stereotype, a cliche, but I just think the German sort of ruthless efficiency and eagerness to sort of land another knockout blow on Barca would be one I'd be looked towards here.
Yeah, Miguel, you like goals, and more goals here.
I mean, which is a theme, but on this, I'd almost take the opposite view to Adrian in terms of what the context is going to produce, and kind of maybe more in line with Mark there, because I mean, okay, we think Barca are certainly going to go out, but they're not officially out yet, and while that's in play, they're going to have no option but to go for it. And I think, like with the 3-3 draw against Inter, games like that can produce chaos, which we saw. I was at the 2-0, the one Bayern won, and it was kind of an artificially low-scoring game, and that the quality of chances created, I thought there should have been more goals. Equally, I do agree with Mark that I don't think Bayern, especially given there's been a little bit of uncertainty about their own season so far, if they'll take the opportunity for a statement victory, they will. They generally don't tend to slack off on these occasions. And for me, it feels set up for one of those kind of classic kind of madcap Champions League games, which is really stretched, and all that provoked by Barca's desperation. And given some of the issues we've seen with the team as well, at least in defence, I think all the ingredients there for another high-scoring game.
Yeah, over 3.5 goals from Miguel, currently 2.86. It's tough here, given that some of the Miguel and Adrian are up against each other, but I do like that Bayern over 1.5 goals, Mark, so we might lock that in as a bet. 2.0 currently on Matchbook. So that's the first official bet. And what we do, guys, is we keep official ROI for the best bets, but we do like picking out a bet if someone makes a good case on the marquee matches. And all those bets will be up on Matchbook Insights. We'll move on to second game, and this is Mark's game of choice here. So we'll take a look at the betting first, as we have it at matchbook.com. It's Ajax at home to Liverpool. Ajax currently 4.1. Liverpool available at 1.91, around 10 to 11, and the draws available at 4.1. Both teams to score. Another low line here at 1.55. Yes, no is 2.72. Ajax are getting half a goal start on the Asian handicap line at 2.08, and the goals total that we currently have is 3.0, a good bit shaded towards the over at 1.78. So yeah, Mark, it was your game of choice. You wanted to pick this out, and the goal line has stood out for you here as a bet.
It was my game of choice, and then I kind of got around to trying to pick a bet out of this game, and I thought this should not have been my game of choice. I am looking forward to it. You know, we've got two clubs on the back foot, desperate really to silence critics. Obviously, the task is pretty straightforward for Ajax. They must win and they must score at least twice, really, to sort of have any opportunity of clawing their way back in to potentially progress. And obviously, they're still relying on Liverpool to slip up then against Napoli on match day 6 to qualify. But even still, you know, both, or at least Ajax, have had a very turbulent campaign. Even though they're top of the Eredivisie, they've had their wobbles. They failed to keep a clean sheet in 8, and they've lost 4 of those 8 games. And in the last 2 weekends domestically, we've seen something close to their best. But they should be relatively confident in this match because, well, I guess from a betting perspective, to me, they're a big price here. Liverpool's road record is anything but convincing this season. They've lost 4 of 7 games away, winning just once. And I look at the Liverpool price around about 1.9. Napoli were 2.8 here at the start of October. I can't trust Liverpool at that price compared to what Napoli are. And I know we might see Konate and Darwin Núñez and Thiago coming back into the squad, and Klopp rested and rotated his team at the weekend. But it's just underwhelming, unreliable, unconvincing, inconsistent. They created next to nothing against Forest despite dominating the ball. Alisson was their man of the match. Gomez, Fabinho, poor that midfield. We talk about it every week, but they're not pressing in the same sort of coordinated manner. And also, if you look at the sort of underlying metrics, it shows that Liverpool are allowing the highest expected goals per shot in the Premier League. So whilst they're not giving up loads and loads of shots, when they do let teams through the lines, they're giving away really high value opportunities too. And I think that's quite concerning in the long run. It should give Ajax plenty of hope that they could at least get on the score sheet here and cause them problems. But, you know, on the flip side, I think Liverpool's style, which will suit Ajax, I think it should work in Liverpool's favour too. So I think, you know, the market is expecting a goal-heavy game, as you say. The goal expectancy is at 3.25. It's quite hard to engineer something of real sort of value or anything massively attractive here, but I've settled on over 3 goals at 1.8. I think that's fair. It's not a game I'd particularly be keen to oppose goals in. You know, again, we talk about the previous game. I don't think it's a match you really want to be backing unders in with any sort of confidence, really, if you want to tune into this at least. And I think Ajax's front foot approach, they have to be proactive, should in theory allow chances to Liverpool to flourish in the final third themselves. So you can definitely see both teams scoring. Obviously, that's a very short price too. And I think as desperation mode kicks in, spaces open up, we could see a bit of a helter-skelter finale, which hopefully will see us push over the overs as well. But yeah, I thought over 3 goals was the way I'd play it.
Yeah, Adrian, for you, you're kind of like combining a Liverpool win here and an unders play.
Well, I can't be confident in a Liverpool win because I worked on the game, the Forest game, and they were pretty dire by Liverpool's lofty standards. The only real chances, and they had some big chances, came from set pieces. In open play, they were so bang average. It was ridiculous, really. Salah barely had a touch in the second half. They're very short at the moment. It would be good news if Thiago comes back, if Núñez comes back in, Konate too, because Gomez did struggle in the game. He couldn't handle Awani at all. So yeah, I think if those 3 come back into the team, that will give them a stronger look. And I just think that they are a better team than Ajax. I think that Ajax have been damaged psychologically by those heavy defeats to Napoli. I think that will have knocked their confidence. And I don't see them coming out and taking the game to Liverpool in a swashbuckling manner, because I think they'll be a little bit nervy because it's Liverpool, even though they're not a Liverpool that's in form. So I think that Liverpool have got a chance here to get a foothold in the game. I think needing a point, to qualify will focus their minds as well, Liverpool. And let's see, Jurgen Klopp. Jurgen Klopp was he was fuming, wasn't it, at the weekend? I would back Jurgen Klopp to get a reaction, and I've said that already this season. And then they've not necessarily had that positive bounce, but I just think they're a better team than Ajax. I think they're more than capable of seeing out a professional win, if not a spectacular one. So yeah, Liverpool and under 4.5 appealed to me because of the price. 1.9 Liverpool on the nose, absolutely no. But if you expect Liverpool to win, but it not to be sort of a 4-2 or a 3-2, then Liverpool under 4.5 makes it more attractive at 2.6. So that's where I've landed here. I just think Ajax will maybe have a bit of respect for Liverpool after what they experienced against Napoli. Have we lost Daniel? I think we lost Daniel. Do you pick it up then, Miguel?
I was waiting to come in myself.
Go on.
I must say, I kind of, yeah. As Adrian says, it's very difficult to have faith in Liverpool at the moment. That said, I do think they've kind of they've not returned to form, but there's a little bit of consistency in terms of it. Almost feels like at the moment it's 2 good, 1 bad. So, and I just think they were so superior to Ajax in the first game. Ajax have had a bad season. Liverpool still have a few issues, but I think there'll be too much strength for them. And I also think they have recovered well this season from those situations. So yeah, I've in contrast to the last game, I'm fully with Adrian here, and I think it's a solid bet because it could be a little bit more open than usual as well.
So it's nothing personal, which is good to see. Given it's Mark's game of choice, I will lock in over 3.0 goals there as the official bets there. So that's the second one to take in. Currently 1.8 on Matchbooks. So we'll move on to the third game. It's Spurs at home to Sporting. We'll take a look at the betting. This is Adrian's game of choice. Spurs are currently 1.5, Sporting 7.4. The draw available at 4.9. Both teams to score yes is 1.89. The handicap sees Spurs against the goal line at 1.25. Currently at 2.08, and the goal line is currently 3.0, a good bit shaded towards the under at 1.76. So yeah, Adrian, talk to me about Spurs there yesterday. Obviously the game turned on the Reese's decision, but you have to say they were overall very disappointing. It just seemed that Newcastle were that little bit further along the line, which really surprised me, to be honest.
They looked a better team, didn't they? Newcastle United, they deserved the win. Hugo Lloris, it's been an accident waiting to happen for a few years. I think he's made so many rickets across the last couple of seasons. More rickets than he has saves. Game-changing saves. He is a spectacular keeper. He can save you points, but I think he's cost Spurs more points personally than he saved them in the last 2 or 3 seasons. So yeah, it didn't surprise me. I think it's an interesting game. It's a huge game because the group is wide open. It's a big night for Spurs, big night for Antonio Conte. We know he's got a pretty bang average Champions League record, and he comes into it off the back of two poor defeats, to Manchester United and to Newcastle United. So they need to be at it. Tottenham Hotspur in the game. Obviously, there's a little bit of revenge there as well because of what happened over in Portugal earlier on in the group. And I do think that they're capable of getting that revenge. I think Sporting have regressed a little bit. Don't think they've been fantastic defensively in recent times. You look at their away record, they've only got 1 domestic clean sheet on the road this season in the Portuguese league. So that tells you that they're not great travellers. They're a little bit open. They conceded 3 at Braga, 3 at Porto, 2 at Boavista. And of course, they had a nightmare against Marseille, a Marseille team that hadn't had any Champions League victories for years, and they were swept aside by them. So I think that Sporting come into it a little bit more fragile than they were when they played Spurs before. They've also got a couple of suspensions to deal with from the last game where they ended it with 9 men. They've got the distraction of their head coach as well, Amorim, being strongly linked with Villa Park. I don't think that's particularly helpful for them ahead of the game. Spurs, even though they're not firing on all cylinders, they've still got Kane, they've still got Son, they've still got the ability to win home games. Let's not forget that Newcastle defeat. It was their first defeat, at home for a long, long time. So yeah, I fancy Spurs to win here. I don't think it'll be high scoring because Conte be pretty business-like, I would imagine, in this fixture. We just want to get the job done. And I think Spurs will. So Spurs and under 4.5 for me at 1.79.
Yeah, Miguel, you like the unders angles here with Conte, given it's a big night in the Champions League.
Yeah, I mean, I'd probably go, I'd be similar to Adrian again there and go with Spurs to win. But just on their form, I just don't feel quite 100% confident. I mean, I can't rule out mishaps. But I think given everything Adrian has just said there about the form leading into the two games, given there's a staleness about Spurs at the moment, and I think just the context with both their poor form and Conte's Champions League record means this will be another one he tries to lock down and win in a kind of almost a classically European way, which is a kind of a quote unquote professional 1-0 or 2-0. And that would be my kind of likeliest prediction for it. But so just to give us a little bit more out, I'm going for under 2.5.
Interesting. Under 2.5, currently 2.24. Mark, you're under similar lines with the unders here. I guess Spurs, I know you tipped them up start of the season, anti-post. They're still in contention. But you tell me, Mark. You take it away, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, if they win this, they're through, I think, aren't they?
Yeah,
they qualify with a win.
right.
So absolutely, they're still in contention. I still expect them to be in the last 16 draw. And as we talk about, it's a completely different season when the Champions League rolls around. It's a long way away, the knockouts. So yeah, I'm very much between the two guys, really. I wanted to back Spurs and unders, but for the same reasons as Miguel, I just can't really trust them at the minute. They looked half broken at the end of Sunday. Talk about Hugo Lloris, but even Eric Dyer, Son's not been playing anywhere close to his. I think I've heard a stat this weekend, but he hasn't actually scored when he started a game for Spurs this season. I'm not sure if that's true or not, but
it's true. Yeah,
I mean, it's surprising, and obviously Conte's demanding nature. I can't imagine that the training ground is a fun place to be right now. And he's a coach who normally excels when he's got time to work with his players. But right now, players are playing, resting, recovering, preparing, and going again. There's no time to do much. So they have been uninspiring and underwhelming. I think fatigue is also an issue, whether it's mental as well as physical. But he's not rotated his squad much at all before this weekend, at least. And Kulusevski, his industry, his versatility has been missing. Richarlison's still absent as well. So, I just can't sort of pull the trigger on Tottenham. So instead, I took under 3 goals because I think you get such a range of correct scores on your side. 0-0s, 1-1s, 1-0, 2-0, either way. 2-1 or 3-0 scoreline gets stakes return. So if there's 4 goals or more, we lose out. The goal expectancy here is at 3, which I felt was quite high, actually. I personally don't see this game sort of descending into a gunfight at all. Tottenham haven't convinced so far. They were better against Frankfurt here on match day 4. But Sporting are much more experienced, more restrained, more controlled, and just more capable, I think, than Frankfurt on the European stage. And I do rate Ruben Amorim as a head coach. Things domestically haven't sort of got away from them a little bit this season. But I think we saw in the first game that he can devise a game plan that can thwart big teams, better teams, when sort of considered the underdogs, and they had some fleeting moments in that game too. So, I think they're sort of batten down the hatches. They know the importance of avoiding defeat in this match just as much as Spurs do too. So, yeah, I'm happy to sort of oppose goals in this game, but if I had to, I'd sort of pull the trigger on Spurs and unders. But personally, the confidence isn't just there right yet.
Adrian, have the lads put you away from Spurs? Are you still happy with the Spurs and under 4.5 before I make a decision?
No, yeah, make whatever decision you like. I mean, I get it. I just don't think Sporting Lisbon are that good a team, and I don't think they have that much threat up top. I don't think
just on the Spurs price. So Spurs are trading around 1.5, right? They went off about 2.1, 2.15 at home to Newcastle on Sunday. Right. Are Sporting that much worse for Newcastle? I personally don't see it, to be honest.
Probably not. No, I just don't know if Sporting Lisbon are good enough to go to Tottenham Hotspur Stadium and win like Newcastle did. But yeah, it's got the feel of a low-scoring game for sure. So yeah, if you want to go under 3, that's absolutely fine with me.
Yeah, we'll lock in under 3. So the choices are: Mark went under 3, 1.76. Miguel went under 2.5, 2.24, and Adrian Spurs and under 4.5 at 1.8. So we'll lock in under 3.0 goals. That's currently available at 1.76 as a bet. But again, you can go whatever way you want. That'll be up again on Matchbook Insights later on. The final game, and Miguel's game of choice here, his beloved Atletico Madrid are in action versus Leverkusen. So I'm looking forward to getting his bet here. But we'll take a look at the betting very quickly. Atletico are 1.8. Leverkusen 5.0, and the draw is available at 3.95. Both teams to score yes is 1.85. No, it's 2.12. Bayer Leverkusen are getting 3/4 of a goal head start at 1.89, and the total goal line is 2.5, and that's a good bit shade towards the over. It's 1.91 or 10-11. So Miguel, take it away with Atletico Madrid this season. They got the win at the weekend. They're up to 3rd. It's almost looking like they're going to be the chasing pack behind Madrid and Barcelona. In terms of the Champions League campaign, where are you currently with them at the moment? And Simone,
yeah, having let me down a few times, though quite narrowly, to be fair. They came through once in a defeat. but since then, they have, in that very typical Simeone, very typical Atletico way, started to kind of almost just grind themselves into form. It's obviously helped that Griezmann is suddenly having such a resurgence in the build-up to a World Cup as well. And to be honest, I was very close to kind of just going, why not? I'm thinking 2-1 Atletico, because I think that's going to happen. But because I think they'll win this game. I wouldn't be as confident about the defense as we've used to be, and we've spent a lot talking about it. I mean, because they are relative to Atletico, they do concede a fair amount at the moment, usually around 1 a game. But I think they'll do enough. So just to give, rather than kind of completely lock us in to that 2-1, I'm going for Atletico and over 1.5, which is actually, I suppose, maybe goes against my previous trends in this group stage.
So that's 2.14. So to give away the lads' bet, they're both going for Atletico at 1.979. So Mark, could Miguel tip you over the edge with the over 1.5? Are you happy with the match odds currently at around 1.8, as I said?
I was happy enough, but I'm more than happy to sort of follow Miguel in. I'm just astonished that Miguel's not taken the unders in the Atletico game. I had to read it twice. This is obviously these two teams are scrapping out for the second qualifying place. Club Brugge have already qualified, which is incredible, really. And both teams know that they need at least 4 points really to guarantee their place in the last two. Both have massively underperformed their expected goals in this group stage as well. But the group permutations again suggest it's going to descend into quite a high goal count here. The goal expectancy is up at 2.75. Over is the favourite of the two options, which I guess is fairly surprising. Atleti have failed to score in the last 3 Champions League games. They've seen unders in 14 of the last 18 at home. They've only won once in the last 10 home Champions League games as well, which I found remarkable, really. That was the last gasp winner against Porto on Matchday 1. And they failed to win 3 of their 5 at home in the La Liga this season as well. But for all that sort of negativity, you just feel Atletico, when the pressure is on home in Europe, they tend to produce a reaction, a performance. And I think of all opponents right now in the Champions League, Leverkusen are probably one of the sort of top of the tree you want to sort of pick from. Even after Xabi Alonso's appointment, it's not really been a new managerial bounce at all. They've struggled so far in the group. They failed to win or lost without scoring at Brugge and Porto as well. So yeah, I mean, I'm happy to be sort of pro Atleti in this game. I think they'll do enough. They are grinding, and there's just a lot more ability, experience, know-how in that squad compared to Leverkusen, who, for whatever reason, whenever they come to this stage, just tend to freeze and fall out early doors. And it seems to be the way again this time around.
Yeah, Adrian, you're similar with your bet here at the match odds, 1.79.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd echo everything that both guys have said. It's a big night for Simeone and his team, and Atletico have got an awful lot of Champions League experience. I mean, they're a pretty old team, aren't they? I think I read that their average age is over 29. Remarkable. But Morata and Griezmann are in good form up front. It's interesting that they've gone old school Simeone in recent games, 4-4-2, narrow midfield, a little bit like, Liverpool have gone with a 4-4-2. It feels like it's been more in fashion the last few weeks. And I think there are signs that they're beginning to find their feet, Atletico. I mean, their home record that's surprisingly rotten, isn't it? At the Wanda Metropolitano. I can't quite believe it. But Leverkusen look a little bit porous, don't they, at the back? I mean, they lost 4-0 at Bayern, 2-0 at Porto. I mean, away from home in Bundesliga of late, they've been really, really leaky. I know they got a clean sheet win at Mainz, but that was back in August. Since then, they've let in a lot of goals on the road. Porto ripped them apart, 3-0 at home as well. Frankfurt 5-1. And last time out, they drew 2-2 at home to a pretty, very mediocre Wolfsburg team. So Leverkusen, you can't trust them at the back. And I think that Atletico, on a big night like this, will have the know-how and the quality to see the job through. So, yeah, I had Atletico Madrid on the nose, but, listening to both chaps, I think Atletico and overs is a pretty good shout.
Yeah, we'll lock that in for a bet. So just to do a quick recap of what we have so far, there was a lot of choices on Barcelona versus Bayern. To take your pick, me personally, and what we went with is Bayern to score over 1.5 goals at 2.0. The Ajax versus Liverpool, we went with over 3.0 goals at 1.8. Spurs versus Sporting, we went with under 3.0 goals at 1.76. And then Atletico versus Leverkusen, we'll lock in Atletico Madrid to win and over 1.5 total goals at 2.14. And all full recap of those bets and the bets coming up are at insights.matchbook.com. That'll be up at around Monday afternoon. So, Miguel, we'll go to you for an any other bet here, and then you have a best bet. But we'll start with the any other bet here, and it's Celtic at home to Shakhtar Donetsk. And you're seeing goals here. Look, I follow a lot of Celtic fans on Twitter. They're unhappy with the referee and the introduction of VAR, which is another we could talk for about an hour after. But for you, best bet here, you're liking goals.
Well, it's their last home game in this Champions League campaign, where I actually think that, all right, it looks bad in terms of the table. They finished bottom of the group with a point at the moment, or they don't finish, they're at the bottom with a point and haven't only scored twice. But I think they've actually generally given them an okay account of themselves in most matches. It shouldn't be overlooked. They're actually in a very difficult group. The European champions, one of the better teams from one of the stronger European leagues, and then Shakhtar, who of course have been Champions League mainstays for 2 decades, so much experience there, with of course all that almost amplified this season because of the emotional context from the invasion. So it's been in purely football terms, it has been very difficult for Celtic, and I think they've given a solid account of themselves. I think it vindicates Postecoglou's approach, and I just have a bit of a feeling for kind of wanting to go out with a bit of a show for their fans at home, and to show what they should be about in this competition. Especially given Postecoglou's attitude throughout this. Again, I think that will feed in to a more open game. And yeah, I think it's one of, if not quite my best bet for the week, but one of the better bets over 3.5. I think this could be one of those very high scoring matches.
Yeah, almost 2-1 currently. 2.9 is the price there. Adrian, your any other bet here comes Seville versus Copenhagen.
Yeah, he's got a good record with his overs tips, I've got to say, this season. He's got an eye for the sort of wild matches, that's for sure. But yeah, I'm going for Sevilla to beat Copenhagen and under 4.5 goals. I think that Sevilla have improved. I was opposing them big time a few weeks back under Lopetegui, but Sampaoli's come in, and although it's not been mind-blowingly good, they are definitely improving. They've certainly tightened things up at the back, and even though they lost to Real Madrid at the weekend, I think that they can take quite a bit of heart from the performance. They certainly weren't blown away by a really strong Real Madrid side. So they're getting better. Of course, they drew as well in Dortmund last time out in the Champions League. So yeah, I think there are definitely positives. Sampaoli has a very good record himself in the Champions League. He's only lost 1 of 7 matches in this competition. So yeah, he knows his way around the block at this level. And they're up against Copenhagen. And I know they drew 0-0 with City, but they were down to 10 men. They maybe rode their luck a little bit, Copenhagen. That's the outlier, isn't it? Away from home, spanked 5-0 by City. Comfortably swatted aside 3-0 by Dortmund. They've not scored a single goal in the group yet. And I was looking even at their domestic form, FC Copenhagen, on the road, just 1 clean sheet in their last 6 in the Danish league. So I've got quite a lot of confidence here that Sevilla will score 1 or 2 goals and that they can certainly keep a clean sheet. So yeah, for me, Sevilla to win a relatively uneventful match.
Yeah, that's Seville and under 4.5 goals versus Copenhagen, 1.75. It's best times, but just before we get to that, I'll tell you very quickly about our sign-up offer that we currently have at Matchbook. It's a £30 welcome offer. It's money back as a free bet if your first bet loses up to £30. So that's money back as a free bet if your first bet loses up to £30. As I said, the guys' best bets are coming up. Feel free to have the £30, and one of those best bets will let you choose yourself, and it's completely risk-free. You get your money back as a free bet if your first bet loses. So well worth checking out. The bonus code is Insights30. That's Insights30, and more terms, conditions, etc. are available at Matchbook Insights as well. So Mark, we'll go to you for your best bet, and well done on getting it up there at the weekend with the League On goals and 2 out of 2 in your Matchbook Insights column, I will add. So tell us a bit about both teams to score. Zagreb versus Milan, 1.89.
Yeah, I'm expecting goals in Croatia. I think this is a real banana skin actually for Milan, who after those back-to-back defeats against Chelsea are in a bit of a critical position now. They must avoid defeat here really and try and set up a winner-takes-all tie against Salzburg on Matchday 6, assuming that Chelsea go to Austria and do a job on the Austrians. So yeah, I'm not expecting a cakewalk for Milan. I think Dinamo can absolutely play their part in what could be quite an eye-catching game. The reverse at the San Siro ended 3-1 in Milan's favour. Means that Dinamo have now scored in 3 of their 4 group games this season. Milan are yet to keep a clean sheet in the Champions League this season. Now, Pioli rested and rotated his squad at the weekend against Monza. Brahim Diaz did pick up an injury, but it's not as bad as first feared. So there's hope that he can be involved here. But basically, they've got a full complement of their key sort of attacking weapons fit and available. They've only failed to score once this season when you exclude the games against Chelsea. I think they're bound to get on the score sheet in Croatia. But yeah, Dinamo themselves, they pack a punch. Orsic and Petkovic up front, the 2 players, they've got serious potential to cause any defence problems. They showed their capability against Chelsea, of course, on Matchday 1. But what's quite interesting, really, is that their streets cleared, dominating domestically, as they tend to. But they're unbeaten after 13 rounds. So I think they've won 11 of those games. They've kept just 1 clean sheet domestically, despite just streaking clear of the pack. So 12 of their 13 games so far in Croatia have featured both teams scoring. So compare it with Milan in Serie A, their games are averaging 3.18 goals. 8 of 11 have seen both teams scoring as well. These 2 teams are so sort of used to both teams obliging, scoring goals at one end, but very capable of conceding at the other. So considering what's at stake here, very close to must-win potential for both teams here, I'm expecting a decent match here. So I think it could be a one to watch actually at 1.89. Both teams to score should be good entertainment.
Yeah, that's Zagreb versus Milan. Both teams to score 1.89. I do like those angles with the 2 teams domestically, Mark. So we'll see how that gets on. We'll go to you, Miguel, for your best bet. Take it away. It's Napoli and over 3.5 versus Rangers.
Yeah, I mean, they're playing Rangers, who've obviously had not good Champions League. I mean, that's all I have to say, really. One of the highest scoring teams in Europe against one of the most poorest. Well, actually, just on Napoli as well, that was, I have to say, an impressive result a weekend, I think, just for, again, the context of it, the type of team they were playing, and almost kind of a little bit of a statement in terms of, because they've been almost winning these games through, the feeling has been it's just all momentum and just carrying them through, and everyone's kind of waiting until this runs out. Whereas to beat Mourinho's Roma 1-0 away from home, it's obviously a very different sort of match to what we've seen, and in its own way, even though it's not on the kind of the rhythm they've been playing as a momentum, it actually helps propel it. And yeah, I just fear for Rangers here.
Yes.
Now, as I laugh to myself, I wonder is over 3.5 a little bit conservative.
So that's as Miguel touched on, Napoli and over 3.5 total goals, which are popular markets on Matchbook. I think it's 2.68. We currently have it. And if anyone hasn't seen the clip of Jose going up to the referee and then seeing the red card in his hand and then deciding, you know what, maybe not today is today. So it's well worth checking out. Adrian, Clarke, finally into you. Best bet. Coming back to the podcast with a winner on best bet. Here we go. Leipzig versus Real Madrid, over 2.5 goals.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Yeah, Real Madrid to go to Leipzig, probably win the game, but I'm just going to go with over 2.5 goals. I'll chuck some stats at you. Domestically, 73% of Leipzig games have gone over 2.5 goals. In Spain in La Liga, Real Madrid are top dogs in the over 2.5 market. 82% of their matches have gone overs. They've scored, by the way, Real Madrid 3 goals in each of their last 3 games. They're clicking into gear quite nicely as an attacking force. There's a bit of incentive for them to go out there and win. They'll win the group, of course, if they go to Leipzig and triumph. And they have a really good record against German clubs, actually. Real Madrid are unbeaten in their last 13 against Bundesliga sides, and they've scored at least twice in every single one of those 13 games. So I think they're more than capable of scoring at least twice here. But I'd back Leipzig to maybe get on the score sheet. They've got an incredible Champions League record, 16 matches overall, but 12 have seen both teams to score land. They've only kept 2 clean sheets out of their 16 matches at this level. So yeah, I think that there are so many numbers that you can chuck into this one, and everything points towards potentially both teams scoring. But certainly over 2.5 goals looks favourite to me. It's a skinny enough price, I guess, but for me, it's highly likely that we'll see at least 3 goals here.
No, if it wins, I don't think too many people will be complaining. I have to say, I do like those 3 best bets. And if you are watching and you do have a Matchbook account, you can get them a Matchbook multiple, of course, double, treble them up by all means. And you can even take advantage of the £30 welcome offer. Thanks for all the comments on the live stream. If you are watching back, do comment your best bet of the Champions League Matchday 5. There's a lot of great games coming on, and do hit that like button if you're watching on YouTube. My thanks to Miguel, my thanks to Mark, my thanks to Adrian. The 4 of us will be back on Thursday, 12 p.m. to preview the weekend football podcast. It's relentless football right up until March, as Mark says, when we get that international break. But take care, enjoy the Champions League, and we'll chat to you all on Thursday.